we can look at is perhaps some funding over different financial years to make it easier for council, because we understand that it's going to take a little bit of time just to sort of get our other ducks in a row, as it were. So we're open to that for sure, because we understand the situation.
Councillor Herman, then Councillor Parkin.
Yes, question. Andrew, if the council couldn't find the cash, if you read the Courier, we got none, but if would you be open to a loan from the council, a repayable loan?
We would certainly look at that. Wouldn't be our number one option, to be honest with you, but we would consider that in due course. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Councillor Parkin.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, you mentioned there's sort of no ongoing costs for the council. However, I know that all of our ovals and sporting facilities are sort of managed under a sort of shared council arrangement, because some of them are community owned, some of them are council owned.
Yes.
Yep.
Could you remind me, or could Renee remind me, what the arrangement is with?
So there's the Community Recreation Facilities Framework,
That's
and
the one.
each site can decide to either opt in, where they get council to manage the facility, come in and manage it, or we provide the club with a certain amount of money per square metre that they have to look after, and then they use that money to actually maintain it. So they would still have the opportunity to access those funds. It's a community-owned site. I guess their point around there not being long-term operational costs is that it is a community-owned site, so they would be managing the ongoing maintenance.
Okay, but they
yes,
still
they
have
would,
the option to opt in or opt out of our support.
Correct.
Okay, great,
Yep.
thanks.
Final question, Councillor Mudge.
This is probably to the administration. If we were to provide funding, I'm assuming this would be operational expense rather than capital?
Yeah, because we don't own the site. Yep. That was a quick one. So, Councillor Trescothick.
I'm not across this, and obviously don't go into too much detail, but as far as women's sports go, so football and netball, will this design incorporate facilities that are up to standards for women's sports?
Absolutely. That's the key driver in this whole thing. Yeah. Yeah. We need private change facilities, private share facilities, and at the moment it's restricting growth in women's sport. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for coming along and presenting. Obviously, we're not going to make a financial decision on the night, but we can use this information to help inform our upcoming budget processes as we, prepare the budget to go out to consultation, and you taking the time to obviously come here and, I guess, walk through your project, where it's at, and what you're seeking from us helps us make informed decisions around our budget. So appreciate you coming along.
Thanks. Thank you.
So we do have a public forum now. So the deputation aside, the public forum provides an opportunity for anyone in the gallery who wants to come and speak to council about any matter. So if you want to provide a slightly different perspective or add on to what Mr Adcock said, you're welcome to. There's a maximum of 10 minutes allowed, and 5 minutes per person. Is there anyone in the gallery that would like to speak to the council tonight? No, just all here for moral support. Excellent. Well, thanks again for coming along. We will not be offended if you'd prefer to not remain for the rest of the meeting, noting that there's nothing specific on the agenda about your club tonight. So, thank you again. Cheers. We'll just give a moment for everyone to leave, and then we'll move on in the agenda. Thanks very much. Okay, so we'll move on now. There are no presentations. There are no questions on notice to, I guess, refer to at the moment. We'll do so later in the agenda. There are also no motions on notice, but we do obviously have administration reports. The first one being the flags policy review. Ms Charlton, do you have any new or additional information you'd like to provide the chamber? Someone like to move something in relation to this item?
Question?
Yes, Councillor Herman.
Does the council abide by the flag flying protocols, and particularly the removal and illumination of flags.
Ms Charlton?
Through you, Mayor, the protocols state that the flag should be raised and lowered each day, or the flag should be illuminated if they remain flying. So we do keep the flags up, and they are illuminated.
They are.
They're illuminated
are.
at Stirling, and there is a degree of illumination at Gumaraca and Woodside, which we are progressing expansion of, enhancement of.
Come on.
Thanks, Councillor Hammond. Someone like to move something in relation to this? Councillor Gladigo?
I was going to ask a question first.
Sure,
If I can,
yeah, of course.
please, Mayor. It says here that we fly 3 flags, the Australian national flag, the Aboriginal flag and the Adelaide Hills Council flag. But that also says under 5.2.4 that we also fly the flags in regards to, say, NAIDOC Week and Reconciliation Week. What's the difference for NAIDOC and Reconciliation? Is it just another Aboriginal flag, or have we got special flags for those?
On those days, we fly the Torres Strait Islander flag instead of the council flag, as well as the Aboriginal flag.
Is Councillor Gladigo?
I'd like to move an amendment to this policy.
Moving a motion. It's not an amendment because there's nothing moved, but I understand you want to move something slightly different. So what would you like to move?
Has the staff got an amendment there?
Okay, so I'll just give elected members a moment to read this. Okay, so if you'd like to speak to that, noting for people curious where it is in the agenda, it is 5.24. On the track changes, that's page 23 if you want to refer to it. So, Councillor Gladigo, you can speak to your motion.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The reason for this is I found that very interesting that those words are there to be so specific towards a certain group of people, and a minority group is as I would consider. But I considered it under 5.1.3 where it says flag flying should be executed with respect and sensitivity to community expectations. And I considered that wording is taking it to another level, which I don't think fits under 5.1.3, is that the majority of community wouldn't be comfortable with flags for many of those phobias to be specially flown. I also considered that this policy was done back in 2015 when it was first adopted. And since then, there's been many more, shall I say, social groups, etc., that are now springing up, which a lot of those on that page there under that heading would be a lot of those. And I think we're just opening ourselves up to just being a council that's going to fly a lot of flags for a lot of minority social groups. And it's just going to get to the point where we could actually have groups say, why didn't you put our flag up? And if I added other flags to that, I'd say, so why haven't we done a flag for International Women's Day? And why haven't we done a flag for domestic violence and things like that? Yet we're picking out this one very specifically. So I think that time has moved on and that we shouldn't have such specific wording in it, and that we should stick to really what the flag flying is about national pride that we have. So I would move that those words are removed out of this policy.
Okay, thank you. I will just provide one point of clarification that you mentioned the majority of residents wouldn't be comfortable with that. We don't know that for certain, but obviously that's how you feel about the community. Given that this is slightly different to what the recommendation was, do any councillors have a question before I seek a seconder? Councillor Osterstop.
Thank you. Looking at that, I'll call it a paragraph of the policy, talks about events promoting social cohesion and inclusion, such as such as could mean a whole lot of things. For example, flying the Palestinian flag.
So your question is, because we don't want to move into debate, is does that suggest that it could also be for other reasons?
Yes, and who makes that decision as to what flag is flying?
Ms Charlton?
Through you, Mayor, the policy provides additional context that staff would need to consider. 5.2.5 of the policy does say that council would not use flag flying to engage in matters of contention such as international border disputes. So that is relevant to the example that you gave. But the overriding principles as well, I think, which have been acknowledged, are around respect and sensitivity, fostering a sense of pride, and you know, it also says the objectives are to promote worthy causes and bring attention to social issues. So I think, you know, that would need to be assessed on a case-by-case basis by staff. But I would also acknowledge that this policy has been in place for 11 years and there haven't been, to my knowledge, any examples of contentious flag flying since it was acknowledged.
It's a supplementary question. Has this policy ever been out for public consultation to see what the public think about these additional flags that...
No.
No?
So in 2015, when it was first debated, there was a conversation about whether it should go out to consultation at the time, because it was the first time the policy was endorsed, and it was decided not to put it out to consultation at that time.
Can you recall?
Yes, the elected body decided to, I guess, take a leadership position on that. There was some who expressed, and Councillor Herman was there as well, there were some who expressed a preference for going out to consultation, and there were some who expressed not. By memory, the vote was very close at the time, and that was a Policy and Planning Committee at the time. And then since then, when it's come back up in 18 and 22, there hasn't really been much of a discussion about it. Councillor Boyd, you've got a question?
No, I want to debate.
Oh, well, we need a seconder first. So, Councillor Parkin, you've got a question?
Yes, I do, and it's a structural one, so I don't know if I can even ask it or do it. But the events promoting social cohesion and inclusion, would you be open to leaving that in and then just removing the examples such as Feats Festival, International Dragons? It's those words with all the phobias that I think are potentially divisive and contentious, but events promoting social cohesion and inclusion, that's not divisive and contentious, that's promoting social cohesion and inclusion. So what if we just left that?
I guess that's a question for the mover.
That's a question for the mover. So would you feel comfortable with that?
It's a start. I mean, I'm concerned that.
So I guess without getting into debate,
yes.
I guess you can either say you're going to get a right of reply irrespective of what happens with the debate. But at this point, are you happy to have the motion essentially removing the words and inclusion, etc., sorry, after inclusion.
Yeah. So such as fees. Yeah.
So I guess that's
they're just examples anyway.
So that's a question.
Yeah.
Which is leaving it open for the CEO or staff to decide.
Correct.
What events?
Yes.
And there's been no debate. Sorry.
Yeah. Look, I think that I'll be comfortable with that because I think it takes out a lot of the other hoo-ha that's in there as I look at it.
Okay.
So the phobia stuff, which is.
Okay. We've had a few questions, given that we now have a slightly different wording on the. No, that's correct. It's saying to remove that and we leave the first part in the policy. Yeah. Okay, so I'll see if we have a seconder.
I have a question.
Yes, Councillor Herman.
I'm more comfortable with what's there now, but there is in the flags protocols there's a special days for flying flags. Could the director explain what that is? And whether what we've got there now, if we align it to the Australian government's special days for flying flags, is that another way of being more general and giving a bit more flexibility?
Through you, Mayor, the Australian flag booklet, or shorthand the flag protocols, does include a section around special days for flying flags, but largely it provides additional guidance on when the Australian flag is encouraged to be flown. So Harmony Day, Anzac Day, Australia Day, 1st of January, there is some guidance in that protocol around flying the Aboriginal flag, the Torres Strait Islander flag and the UN flag, but the council policy goes further to provide a framework for the flying of other flags. So if the question is around would adding reference to this provide further guidance around what flags might contribute to social cohesion? I don't think it would, because those are already acknowledged in the other dot points of that clause and in the spirit of the other parts of the policy.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Parkin, you're happy to second the motion?
Yeah, could I speak briefly?
Of course.
So the reason I'm happy to support this amendment is because I don't think it functionally changes the policy at all. The words that are being removed were literally there to provide an example. And I think that some of those words in some parts of our community would probably incite a reaction. So I think to remove those words and not effectively change the policy, it's still an effective policy. It's been effective for 11 years. There's been no contention around the policy. So I think this strikes a good balance. And I commend the motion. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Boyd?
Yes, through you, Mayor. I can support this motion, and I wouldn't have supported it without the change. So the change has got me on board. I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Councillor Herman, can you just turn off your microphone? Thanks. Would anyone else like to speak to the item? Yeah, Councillor Mudge.
Yeah, look, I understand what's being said here. However, I think it sends the wrong message to those particular communities, that somehow we think that they're not worthy of recognition. This policy has been in place for what, 12 years? Is that right? 11 years?
Yep.
Yeah. And there hasn't been any problems. No one's made any comments about it at all that I'm aware of. No one's ever spoken to me about it being a problem. I just don't see that we need to start a culture war over some words. It's just an example. So it's, it could be something else. I mean, I don't particularly have any issues with those particular examples. To me, it's just, I have trouble supporting it in its current form.
Thanks, Councillor Mudge. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Herman?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, I was around in 2015 when the policy was adopted, and I was one, because it was a new policy, advocated very strongly for it to go to community consultation. The Mayor said it was a close vote. I won't say in the chamber why it didn't go to consultation, but there was a view that it didn't need to. The northern section of the council, the following couple of weeks, I received numerous phone calls of why we adopted that with those words in it, and B, why it didn't go to community consultation. So there was unrest at the time, there's no doubt about that, but time heals all wounds, I suppose, so, and it hasn't been a burning issue in the last 5 or 6 years. I believe that now that I've had the explanation about those special days for flying flags, I was wondering initially whether we could hang some criteria from that piece of that information into our policy, but the director said that that wouldn't be appropriate. So I will be supporting the as printed on the screen.
Thanks, Councillor Herman. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Gladego, your right of reply.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, people, other councillors, for your input into this. Part of the reason I look at this is to say that we as a council have a lot bigger issues to deal with in terms of our budget, our strategic plan, and core focuses than to be we're expecting our staff to be sitting here going, which day is it today that I should be putting up that flag or this flag or whatever in regards to a social event. So, but in saying that now, the change that's happened to it, taking out the other words, I think makes it a little bit cleaner. If someone is to read this, they're not going to feel quite as, shall I say, put off by the policy. That makes it a little bit broader under the just having social cohesion and inclusion there. So, as I said earlier, a lot of the times have changed. We're getting more and more social issues, more and more people, there's just little minority groups that are going to keep popping up. People dressing as cats and things like that, and they'll all.
Councillor Gladego, come on. Let's.
But anyway, so so I would like to commend that this motion with that change be adopted.
Okay, with the debate closed, all those in favour to please indicate. Those against, motion is carried. So move on to item 12.2, the tributes for commemorative services policy review. Ms Charlton, do you have any new information you'd like to provide the chamber? Would someone like to move something in relation to this? Councillor Mudge, do you wish to speak to the item? Councillor Gladego, if you can just thanks.
Just briefly, I think this is a really important policy. There is a minor amendment to the policy where we're talking about providing support to groups for their up to $150 for electrical certification, which was actually a motion moved last year or the year before. I think it was 2023 that there was a resolution to provide support to some of these organisations. And by having it in this policy, it then alerts council staff and also potentially members of the public that this particular funding might be available. But otherwise, I think there are no sort of substantial changes to it. So I support it.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Osterstock, do you wish to speak? Does anyone wish to contribute to the debate? Okay, no need for a right of reply then. With the debate closed, all those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. We'll move on to item 12.3. Mr Lewis, do you have any new or additional information you'd like to provide to the chamber?
No, I don't.
Does someone like to move something in relation to this? That's just Councillor Herman.
Yes, I'll move. If you could put.
Did you have a question, Councillor Mudge? I'll just go to Councillor Herman. He'd already contacted me.
Can you put up the... Yes, I'm moving, and I can speak. Yeah, I'm moving a deferral motion on this item. First of all, it's a 14-page policy, probably one of the longest policy documents we have in the council, and I trust all members have read it and hopefully understood it. I spent a lot of time on it, and I've had phone calls from a couple of other members about some of the wording in the policy. For argument's sake, there's a reference to a report being provided to the CEO, and somewhere else is a summary being provided to the CEO, those words. There was some reference to a legal advice being given, and it wasn't clear to me and a couple of others whether that was sufficiently incorporated into the policy itself. In addition, I thought it'd be very useful, or would be for me, I'm sure some other members would agree, if we had a flow chart showing what happens when the complaint is originally lodged, and I think we're all familiar with flow charts. If this happens, you go this way, if this happens, and so it filters through. Because I did find it a bit hard to follow myself. So I think if we leave it on the table for until the first workshop in April, and I did check with the director, there could be space. There could be space for the first workshop in April. The others are booked up, so in the cool hard facts of the night, we can have another look at it if you're so inclined. And there's a few of us that are inclined. I think we want to get it right. I could have moved some amendments tonight, but the fear of that is, first of all, I don't like moving major amendments to policy on the floor. For one of the reasons no one's had time to consider that. And it may have implications if you amend paragraph A, it may have implications for paragraph B or down the page. A bit dangerous doing that on the run. So, and I would encourage members to have a detailed look at the policy, and if you've got any further comments to make, if you could provide them to the director, when? Bob? A week before? Or?
If we run a workshop, yeah, probably a week to 10
If you
days.
provide
before.
any comments to the director by email about any questions you've got, if you can provide those comments back to the director a week before, which would be the 31st of March roughly, then we can consider it at a workshop. I think it's better to have that sort of discussion in the workshop than trying to work through the issues in a council meeting. So that's the reason I'm moving the deferral and seek support to do that.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Huxter, do you wish to speak to the item? Councillor Mudd, do you wish to speak?
I just had a question. Didn't we have a workshop on this already?
We did, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
There have been some changes in the recommended policy, though, that's different from what was presented at the workshop.
Yeah. Okay.
Councillor Osterstock.
Just a question.
Yes.
My understanding is that I read somewhere that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that a policy or procedure was being simultaneously developed for complaints against staff generally. Is that correct?
Administration?
No, it's not correct. There was a there was a policy approved some time ago, but there was a revision to it which is being considered as well. But that's not imminent at the moment. There is a piece of work going on, but that's not imminent for completion.
So there is a piece of work going on at the moment revising the existing policy
Yes.
or procedure
Yeah.
that deals with complaints against staff members.
There's one. There is to make them coherent. The two policies. There's some recommended changes that fall off the back of this policy, which are required to be made to the staff policy to make it clear that this new elected member policy is in place for these complaints. Because at the moment there is one policy or procedure that covers staff complaints about other staff and the CEO.
Okay.
So there's a change which is required. So that is current, but that is a minor change to make sure that the two policies are coherent with each other. Separately, there is a review of the staff policy, the staff procedure, but that is not that's not well underway at this point.
My next question is, and you may want to take this on notice, is there any impediment to this procedure that's outlined in this report to deal with complaints against the CEO, that the procedure, as opposed to being a separate standalone policy or procedure, that this function, if you like, is incorporated into the staff complaint handling policy or procedure?
I guess in response to that, this was developed at the request of the elected body.
Yes, I understand that, but as you know, with all due respect, the elected body can change its mind
Of course
at the
it
drop
can.
of a hat.
Yes, it can.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So my question is there any impediment to a complaint handling procedure in relation to the CEO being incorporated into the existing policy or procedure that is in place for complaints against staff members generally?
It's possible to combine the two, and there's two different approaches taken by councils. One is to have a single policy procedure, and the other one is to have separate ones. The impediment is actually the resolution of council to go and develop one,
Yeah, I understand that.
Other than that, there's no, I mean, I guess it's not an absolute impediment, but we've gone down the path of developing this policy, so we would need to reconsider the whole matter, so there might be additional time and resources taken to do it. But it doesn't, there's no absolute, there's no
Well, it could
absolute
just be an
preventative from
annexure,
doing it.
could it not?
Sorry?
An annexure to the.
No, it would just be a single procedure that has multiple decision points. It's all possible to be done.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll resume debate then. So we had Councillor Herman move, Councillor Huxter to second, who has not spoken. Would anyone like to speak to the item? Councillor Gladego?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'm actually quite comfortable that this is deferred. Have been through this and have quite a few questions myself, which I wondered how we deal with it at a meeting like this. And there is some conflict between what's been printed here and some of the legal advice that's been received, and the way that's been now written to this policy. So, I think it'd be great to have another workshop and to be able to put. I've already had some discussions with the director already on this, but to be able to put it in writing and get them clarified and tidied up.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to the item? Councillor Herman, your right of reply. Okay, with the debate closed, all those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Move on to item 12.4, which is the draft community engagement framework. Mr. Lewis, do you have any new or additional information you'd like to provide the chamber?
And we have made a slight change to the recommendation, and this is following some feedback we received late on. This does not make a major change to it doesn't make a very significant change to the way the framework will function, but it adds emphasis to the participatory and deliberative engagement aspects of the framework. I think that's on the screen at the moment.
Thank you. Now, Councillor Mudge, I saw your hand pop up. Are you wanting to move something or ask a question?
No, I'm happy to move it.
Sure. Do you wish to speak to the item?
Yeah, first of all, thank you to staff who've done a fantastic job in community engagement in the lead up to the development of this community engagement framework. It's a bit meta, I guess, engagement about engagement. But it's a really good document, relatively high level. So I was a little bit surprised when I saw it was classed as being a framework. It's almost like an overarching sort of policy sort of document. But I think I 100% agree with the principles that are announced in it. One of the big criticisms that I noticed, and a criticism which I've had as well personally during my entire time on council, is the whole feedback loop for decisions is people tend to be quite happy if they have a particular issue and the answer is no, but they're not happy when they don't hear about it. They don't get feedback on it. And they might have comments on our particular policy or a particular project which are rejected for whatever reason. And when they never hear about it, it's sort of a little bit disrespectful to the time and effort that they put into actually making a comment or a feedback. So I'm quite delighted that this policy puts that front and centre. I did suggest the addition of those additional wordings in yellow, participatory and deliberative engagement methods. Those of you who've been around for a little while will know that one of the things that I'm quite interested in is deliberative democracy. And I believe that council should potentially be looking at using some deliberative democracy, so things like citizens' juries and things like that, to explore some of the wicked problems that we have in this council. And two that I can think straight off the top of my head are the balance between development for diverse housing options and preservation of our unique environment in the hills. As one particular issue, we could follow some of that sort of engagement to try and get some more sort of nuanced, detailed feedback from people about how we balance those particular sort of competing sort of interests in policy within the Adelaide Hills Council region. And of course, the key one, which I think every council has, which is development of a budget that balances services and capital expenditure with the desire to contain rate rises and services while maintaining budget sustainability. Every year we have this balance where we look at the services we're providing and capital expenditure, but we also want to contain rate rises to something which is and service charges to something which is affordable for general people in our council district while being sustainable, so not running sort of structural budget deficits or increasing our debt so it's over the top. And I think that deliberative democracy, citizens' juries and things like that could potentially be used in this particular area. So my particular amendment or changes is a fairly minor one, but it's in step 5, and it's just to add in include participatory and deliberative engagement methods as particular methods that might be considered when an engagement plan is being developed on a particular issue. And that puts it as a front and centre for council staff when they're actually considering that particular engagement plan, what sort of method of engagement they can use. It is actually mentioned elsewhere in the framework as well.
Get about 1 minute.
This one will allow it to be a part of that process for that council staff will go through when they develop their engagement plans. So I commend the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Boyd, you'd like to second? Do you wish to speak to the item? Yes, Councillor Herman, you've got a question?
Yes, the Director, page 86, under the heading of the financial resource implications, you state in there that there's a budget been assigned, so I assume there's no additional cost to the council of implementing this?
No, I assume.
No, through the man. No, this is
No
probably
additional
existing
costs.
resources.
No additional cost. Now, and you can disallow this. Hypothetically, Director, if we step back 15 years and there's a proposal before the council to have all these flags flown, would you consider that a ground
Councillor
to go
Herman.
out for community engagement?
I don't think that needs to be answered.
I accept your ruling,
Thank you.
reluctantly.
All right, would anyone like to contribute to the debate? Councillor Mudge, no need for a right of reply. Oh, there is.
Sorry, there's one thing I forgot to mention. Not really responding to others is I have requested that the Reconciliation Working Group have a look at this as well, because it did mention that I've forgotten the name of the Paramunk and the Ghana corporations have been asked about this, but I think the Aboriginal Adelaide Hills Reconciliation Working Group would also have some benefit in looking at this.
Okay. Thanks. With the debate closed, all those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. We have no information items, no correspondence. Does anyone have a question without notice? No? Motions without notice? I did have...
Yes, that council congratulates, in effect you can read what's up there, but Lisa Rose and the Courier on their awards at the Country Press Awards.
So I have reviewed this and will accept it as a motion without notice, so if you'd like to speak to it.
I don't know. Anyway, the Courier quite often gets recognised, so they must be a relatively good and respected paper within their peer groups. The Premier presented the awards to Elisa and, well, she didn't actually attend, but to the Courier and to our own Finn Dunford, so which I think is a credit to him that he can perhaps get through I can't say that word, but get through, sort the chaff from the wheat, that's a better one, so they can get to the facts of the case. So I commend it. I think it's a credit to the district that we've got such a good paper circulating.
Thank you, Councillor Herman. Councillor Mudge, you're happy to second?
Yeah, I'm happy to second. I just want to ask a question. What's the best house ad?
Actually, the Courier.
Councillor Parkin.
So basically, it would mean that it was an advertisement developed by the paper itself in conjunction with something rather than just the ad being submitted by someone else or an advertising agency or whatever.
Okay. Done it in-house, yeah. Okay, does anyone wish to speak to the item? Yeah, Councillor Stop.
Just a question, how do you intend to manage that resolution? Will you write a letter advising?
Yeah, I think that's appropriate. Yep.
Yep, sure.
Okay, no need for a right of reply, Councillor Herman. I'll put the motion. All those in favour to indicate. That is carried unanimously. So we'll move on to 17. There's no reports from external organisations. Councillor Gladigo's put in his commitments recently. So we'll move on to the CEO's report.
Thank you, and through you.
Oh, sorry, hold on.
It's just regarding that.
Yeah.
When we're going through people's things that participated.
Yeah.
Put on the screen a little bit longer to see all the wonderful stuff that's been doing. Because we always just scroll through them really quickly.
Yeah, I guess it. Yeah, we can do that slightly. For me, I guess it's here. It's questions by exception, but
Yeah, that's fine.
cool. No worries. Yeah. CEO.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. Very quickly, it is a short meeting. It's only been a couple of weeks. Just met with Ms. Jess Charlton, the Deputy Premier out at Fabric, and we showed him through Fabric with the view of hopefully getting an election promise. But clearly there's some gaps in the offering of Fabric, and it would be good if we could collaborate with the state government on making it even more relevant, not just for Lobethal, but for all of Adelaide Hills region. The other one, just to note, also Jess Charlton and myself met with the Fruit Producers Association, Helen Mawson and Grant Piggott, to actually work with them to make sure that they can be the best they can be in the region as well. We talked about development issues, road infrastructure issues, etc. And Ms. Jade Ballantyne was there as well. Yeah, so that's all I've got to report on today. Thank you.
Any questions for the CEO? Okay, we'll move on to item 18, of which there are no reports of committees. So we just have the final item, which is a confidential item, the ERP replacement project.